Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock on a Monday and it is time for 5x5. Those of you that don't know the concept, the idea is simple. I'm going to be talking about 5 different topics and I'm going to give myself 5 minutes to talk about each topic. Down below at the bottom of the screen there will be a countdown timer. When the time reaches 0, the camera cuts and I move on to the next topic. So the whole idea is it's quick, it's snappy, and you never know what you're gonna get. As per popular demand, I am looking at another book today as well. One of my favorite books from yesteryear, one that's still available that you guys should pick up. We're going to be looking at a book today, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff, including having a special guest who is one of the most creative magicians I've ever had the pleasure to meet. So without further ado, let's get straight on with the first topic. So a lot of you guys really like some of the funny stories that I tell, and obviously I've been working pro for almost 30 years now. I've got quite a few of them. So I wanted to try and tell you another story now. Now, this is when I was just doing children's magic full time. I know I run a children's entertainment company now, but I don't perform kids' magic as much as I did many years ago. I used to perform pretty much exclusively kid shows. And this story was when I was with my friend and ex-business partner, a guy called Russell, and we were working at a nursery. Now, if you don't know, nurseries have kids from babies all the way up to kind of 4 years old before they go into sort of reception. And we were booked to do this nursery and they wanted us to do 4 shows and they wanted a 2-person show. So me and Russell went there to do the 2-person show and they wanted 4 shows. And we were like, okay, cool, no problem. Yeah, 4 shows, that's great. And we did the first 3 shows for the 3 and 4 year olds and it all went great and they absolutely loved it. Very slapstick. It was at Christmas time. I think it was for their Christmas party. And then they were like, okay, right, now we're going to go into the baby room. What? We're going to go into the baby room. You're going to be performing to the babies. Like, we hadn't even checked this. How old are the kids going to be in there? Oh, they're going to be from 6 months into 1.5 years old. Oh, right, okay. Now, I remember turning to Russell and saying, what the hell can we do for what can we do for somebody who's 6 months old? Everything for a 6-month-old is magic. I could just sit there turning the lights on and off, and that would be magic to them. And he was like, look, let's just go in there and try and get it working. So we went in there, we set up a big sort of roll-on table with all of the props in there. And now, you can see, shaved head, big guy, tattoos, didn't have tattoos back there, but still quite an imposing figure right now. It kind of works for me when I'm doing kid shows, but this was for babies, right? And Russell was standing next to me. And if you've ever seen me perform for kids, I'm very high energy. I've got a very loud voice. And I always start off with a big opening where I go, hello! So we'd set up the whole thing. And I was standing there with Russell and he was standing next to me. And all the babies were sitting there, sucking their thumbs, not really paying any attention. As you would expect, they're babies. Half of them couldn't even sit up, to be perfectly honest. They were being held by by the nursery staff. And I just was like, well, I've never done anything for this age before. I'll just do the normal show and see how it goes. And I just went, hello! A kind of very Mr. Tumble style hello. And then I just looked down as every single individual child in that audience started crying. And I'm not talking about like sobbing. I'm talking full on tantrum tears. And I'd scared them, right? And so I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I've got the staff here. I've got all of these kids. I've got like 20 babies. They're all crying. I look to the side to look to Russell. He's not there. And I see a little bit of blonde hair from behind the roll-on table. So I walk over to behind the roll-on table. He's ducked down behind the roll-on table, literally pissing himself. He's just laughing his ass off. And I'm like, what are we gonna do? I just bent down. I was like, what are we gonna do? He's like, I've got no idea. He wouldn't come out. He knew it wasn't appropriate to laugh and he just found the situation so funny. And he went out and he just stayed there and I went out and I thought, I'll try again. Hello! And it got even worse. We ended up not doing a show and basically we just ended up doing balloon modelling for all of the kids. The lesson behind it was terrible. It was a horrible experience. I remember just wanting the ground to open up and swallow me whole. And you know what? I'm going to give you a lesson from this story, a lesson that I learned that you probably know. I was very disorganized, right? And here's my big lesson. When you're taking a booking, make sure you understand understand the client's expectations, because there was a miscommunication between us and the client, and I just assumed that they wanted 4 shows for 3 to 4 year olds, because who would want to book a magic show that's interactive for babies? And they just assumed that I could do a show for babies. And if you are in a situation where you've got 20 babies in a room and you're trying to do a show for them, don't start off with a big hello. Get down to their level. That will probably work. So there you go. It was a horrible situation, and it really wanted the ground to open up and swallow me whole. But I never made that mistake again. So I learned from my horrible experience, which is something. So now it's over to you guys. Let me know down below and in the comments if you've had a horrible experience performing for children. If you have, let me know, because I'd like to talk about these on the channel moving forward. So let me know down below if you've had a horrible experience. So let's look at one of my favorite books. This is called Spectacle by Steven Minch. Spectacle by Steven Minch and L&L Publishing. Now, this is still available in a few places, but I'm willing to bet that at some point this is going to be re-released, because Murphy's Magic have just bought L&L Publishing. This is a book that Steven Minch put together, and I've talked about it on the channel in the past. But it was taking submissions from various different magicians and including a trick off each of them. So some of the names in here are like the who's who of magic in the 90s. You got Jay Sankey, he's put like 4 tricks in. You've got Daryl. If you've ever seen Daryl's elbow, neck and knee, the first time it was ever published was right here in Spectacle. David Regal has got an amazing routine called Babyface. Tommy Wonder is in here. Jeff Latter. David Roth doing a brand new at the time, a brand new coin routine that wasn't in his big book of magic. It was created afterwards. Even Jonathan Pendragon, the illusionist from the Pendragons, has got stuff in here. It really is amazing. Richard Kaufman is in here. So many people. And there's so many great tricks. The Coffin Change by Bill Cosby is brilliant. A Case of Mistaken Identity by Bill Goodwin is brilliant. Deadlier Than the Male by Jeff Latter is absolutely brilliant. You've got a chapter on cards, then you've got a chapter on coins, then you've got a chapter on close-up miscellaneous stuff. You got Jeff McBride in there. You got Rocco. You got Michael Rubenstein. More Jay Sankey stuff. It looks like he's put in more than anyone else. There's a chapter on mentalism. There's even a chapter on stage. Like, there's so much here. It's a beautiful book. It's really well produced, really well published, really nice. I'm going to perform for you my favorite routine out of the book. So I'm going to perform for you my favorite routine out of the book, and I'm going to do that for you right now. Right, so I'm going to take two cards out of this deck. I'm going to take out the 2 black kings. There we go. That's the King of Clubs and the King of Spades. Now, Sarah, you're going to help me with this. You are going to pick a card. Before you do, I'm going to take the 2 black kings. I'm going to put them face up on the top and the bottom of the deck. So they're kind of sandwiching the rest of the cards. And just say stop.
Stop.
You want that one or that one or that one?
Yeah, that's fine.
That one there?
Yeah.
You'd normally sign this card, but obviously you can't sign it. I'm going to show it to the camera.
Okay.
You got a good view of that?
Yeah.
Just say stop.
Stop.
Cool. So I would then ask you to put the card back there. I'll put it back because obviously your hands are full. Filming, and I'm going to leave the card down in the middle. Now, there's a trick in magic called sandwich cards, and the whole idea is the kings try and find the selected card. I'm going to try and do this. Watch carefully. If I give a little twist, what happens is the kings disappear. The 1 king disappears off the top and goes down a bit. The 2nd king disappears off the bottom and goes up a bit. And what they're doing right now is they're eliminating cards. They've eliminated quite a few there. There's still some to go. So let's try this again. They've got half the deck to go. So I'll tell you what, we'll put them here again. So you've got 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom. And let's see if I can do this. Watch if I just give a little twist. What happens is, once again, look at this. All of these cards are eliminated, and now they've sunk down into the middle of the deck, and they've just caught 1 card and 1 card only. And hopefully, if this has worked, that should be your card.
It is.
Perfect. So there you have it. That's a really nice routine. What I love about it is it's a great follow-up to a sandwich routine. You perform a sandwich routine, you get the card, and then you say, well, let me do that again in slow motion. It's a great follow-up, and I love it when routines link together like that. But you know what? That's just one routine. This is a great book. It's not so big that it's kind of overwhelming, you know, when you get a book that's absolutely massive and you're like, oh my gosh. But it's big enough to really be able to get your teeth into. And there's not one bad thing in here, to be perfectly honest. There really isn't. There's so much really good stuff. And I would highly recommend all of it. I'm just trying to I'll tell you one thing in here that's really good. I'm going to give you one more thing. There is a routine by Louis Valanga from L&L. Now, if you saw a couple of weeks ago on this 5x5, I performed something by David Regal, which was an oil and water, but with on back cards. Well, he's put a routine in here, Louis Valanga, called Color Reset. And what he's done is taken Paul Harris's reset plot, but he's done the same thing. So the cards are from different coloured backs. So the reset becomes stronger and becomes clearer because the cards are from different back designs. It's a really nice routine. Honestly, I think that you get this book, you're going to delve through it. You're not going to be disappointed. Please go and beg, borrow, or steal a copy of it. It's called Spectacle, and it's by Steven Minch. It is highly recommended. So one of the most creative magicians I've ever met is a guy called Chris Congreave. He's released so much magic throughout the years, and I've interviewed him for a Future Talk Magic, which will be coming soon. However, while I had him in the interview, I asked him about creativity, because I know a lot of people that want to know more about how to be creative, how to create your own magic tricks. Now, this is a guy that's created so many tricks, he's forgotten some of them. So I asked him, what advice would you give somebody who wants to be more creative and create their own magic tricks? His answer is really, really cool, and it's something that everyone should listen to. This is what he said. But what advice would you give to somebody that was wanting to release their own magic trick, both in terms of knowing when it's ready and then how to actually go about the process of actually releasing it?
Well, that's a great question. As far as knowing when it's ready, that's a difficult one, because what I've found over the years is you think something's ready, and then you publish it or whatever, and then after I've published it, I'll carry on working on it, tinker with it, and I don't think it's ever truly. I don't know about you, but I can always find ways to improve and work on something. I've never ever finished a product or a trick and gone, right, that's perfection, that's it, I can't touch. So as far as knowing whether it's ready or not, for me, now I will always road test it before, and that's where being a working magician is good, because I can go out and I'll perform it at gigs. I've never ever published anything that I haven't been out and tried in front of a real audience. And sometimes that's not always possible, obviously, but even if I'm not doing a paid gig, I'll go out and I'll road test it in front of friends. And I think you've been out with me and seen me before. I'll go into a pub, a bar, and I'll do a couple of tricks for people, and then I'll throw something new in there. Residency's fantastic for that, you know. I'll do all my regular stuff, and I'll chuck something new in the middle. I had residencies at football clubs for several years, and they're perfect, because you get to know the people, and they tell you. And I honestly, Craig, I've come up with stuff before, and I'll think, oh, that's really great there, I really love that. And I've gone to do it at a gig, and they just look at you, and they know you. Now, if they don't know you, they'll probably just give you the old golf clap, you know what I mean? But when they do know you, they'll look at you and they go, and as good as your normal stuff, mate. And you just think, right, okay. So I think performing it is important. And then as far as the different production companies, I don't know how that came about, really. I think certain tricks fit certain companies better than others, maybe. If I was thinking about releasing something now with a sort of mentalism type feel to it, I would probably go to Alakazam and Peter. And then you just because I know all these people personally as well, so I can just call them up and say, I've never actually done the thing where I've had to submit a trick cold, really. Even with Peter, when I was going to my first release, I've known Peter for about 6 or 7 years at that point before, you know, so I called him up and told him about the trick over the phone. Does that answer the question?
It does. It really does, because I think it's the holy grail, isn't it, for a lot of magicians. You know, you talked about it yourself, that when you become a full-time pro, or when you get into magic, a lot of people, they see that there's creators that are kind of almost put on pedestals, and they want to be the guy that's creating magic. And I think a lot of magicians that come in, they think that being a magic creator is going to make you a millionaire overnight, and it's going to make you the most successful magician in the world.
People still think that, really?
Genuinely, they do, mate. Trust me. They really do. Do you want to dispel the myth right here and now?
Yeah, you're never gonna. For me, publishing magic has always been. I've always wanted to share my ideas, and sometimes you wonder why you bother, because you release something, and for me, I've only ever released stuff that like I say, has worked for me. And then sometimes when people sort of bash it and they run it down and stuff, and you just think to yourself sometimes, oh, do you know what? Why did I bother? Because you're right, you don't make a lot of money from it at all, But I like to share my ideas. The new ideas I've got at the moment, that I've been working on a few things, which again hopefully we'll touch on later on. Instead of going down that route of releasing stuff as a one-trick DVD, I'm putting them all into one place in a book. And I know it's a bit old school, people don't like books and stuff, but it's something I've always wanted to do. So that's the way I'm going with my next lot of stuff.
So one question I get on this channel at least 3 or 4 times a week is, can you talk about Keymaster? Can you tell us more about Keymaster? And I think it's because it's one of the most popular tricks I've ever released. I mean, I've released lots of magic over the years, but I haven't released things for many, many years. So I think a lot of people that are especially newer to magic don't know the stuff I released. But even then, Keymaster is something that's really stood the test of time, and people want to see a performance of it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a full live performance of Keymaster. This was actually shot at a corporate event, Christmas 2019. Obviously not Christmas 2020, right? There's nowhere to go and perform this year. But last year, this is shot just before I did an illusion show. It was a bit of close-up that we were doing before the illusion show. Now, the beautiful thing about Keymaster, and one of the things that's really important to me as a creator of magic, is that it's organic. The thing with Keymaster, and the whole idea behind it, is you can take some keys out of your pocket and you're good to go anytime, anywhere. The original idea behind Keymaster was to take Jay Sankey's Holy Moly, which, let's be honest, is a brilliant routine, and make it more organic. Because the problem with Holy Moly, and as much as I love Jay, and I do love Jay, the problem with Holy Moly is that you have these 2 washers, and it's kind of, who would carry a washer around with you, which makes people want to examine it, but you'd expect to pull out some keys. So when I say, hey, I'm going to show you something with some keys, it's something that you would automatically carry around with you. But because you're now not dealing with metal discs, and instead you're dealing with keys, it allows you to add an extra phase, which really makes the routine, in my opinion, which is the hole jumps from one key to the other while the spectator's holding it. But now with no switches, you can have the hole go back, but it goes back onto the stem of the key, which creates an absolutely impossible object. Everybody is used to seeing what a key is meant to look like. They know that the hole does not go on the stem of the key. So when they see that the hole has gone on the stem of the key and everything's examinable at the end, and they can open their hands and immediately examine it all, it's just a really beautiful moment. And it's one of my favorite routines to perform. I perform it all the time. It's probably in my top 3 tricks that I created myself. Here's the live performance of me performing Keymaster.
We can do a couple of other things, right? This is called the 2 key trick. Do you have any idea why it's the 2 key trick? I've seen it before. 2 keys. Yeah. Here's what we can do. I'm going to take one of these keys off. Let me do it this way. There we go. There we go. What's your name? Good. Hold your hand out for me. I want to give you this key. I want you to squeeze it tight. We're going to get back to it a little bit later on. You're going to be like the guardian of the key, alright? Turn your hand over. Perfect. Now I have this other key. What I want you to do is have a look at this key. Check it out. Make sure it's real. Make sure there's nothing weird about it. It's really bad. Now, to be honest with me, does it look better to you? No? It should do. You know why? Because it's 1 key. 1 key is 1 key. Come to the magic safe and copy. What's the key? What's the hole in the key? All I'm going to do is rub your hole. That sounds bad. I'm just going to rub the hole. 1, 2, 3. Take the hole right off the key. Now, no optical illusion. There's genuinely no hole there. Now look, the hole has to go somewhere. If I do this, did you feel it? Turn your hand over. Have a look.
Right, I held that key then.
No. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. Open up your hand. I'm going to get the hole back on this key. Now, to be clear, there is no hole there, is there? No, there isn't. It's not like it's an optical illusion. I'm sorry. Watch. Hold your hand out. Squeeze tightly. Turn your hand over. Now, I'm with 2 hands, right? What's your name again? Put the fingers on the 4 fingers together and pitch the shaft. That's it. That's right. Again, the shaft on the 1.
stem shines on the
The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town.
I have no holes there.
You have no holes. Now, I'm going to go back and forth. You're going to say stop. Stop. There. Okay, now we have a problem, you see, because you stopped right there on the stem of the key. It's impossible. You can't get a hole on the stem of the key. Now, if that's where you want it, that's how you've got it. Because this is going to create an impossible object that you've never seen before, and you'll never see again. Open up your hand. The stem's on this side. I just threw it. I angled it. Have a look.
You fucking guy. Wait.
And you know what? You can keep that.
So there's me getting cocky.
We don't
He was
want
on the
that.
other side and he got it in there.
One last one.
So a few weeks back on the review show with Ryland, I reviewed a product called In the Visible Deck, which was basically a modified invisible deck, and it was terrible. We actually did an honest trailer on this. It was just, all it allowed you to do is dribble through the cards after you've done invisible deck to be able to show that all the backs are there. And my argument on the review show was, what's the point? You know, if you're having people wanting to see the backs of the cards when you perform invisible deck, well then you've kind of done it wrong. It's as simple as that. Anyway, I actually shared on the review show a performance of my presentation for the invisible deck. And I had some great feedback in the comments, and people messaged me privately as well saying they really loved the presentation, and I gave people permission to use it, absolutely. Anyway, I know a lot of people, I watch the analytics on YouTube, and a lot of people that watch 5x5 don't necessarily watch the review show, and vice versa. So what I wanted to do is share this presentation with you, because I've had other people message me going, hey, I've heard about a presentation for Invisible Deck, can you please share it with me? So basically, the whole idea is that you do Invisible Deck as normal, but you're not doing the standard, hey, there's an invisible deck, do you want to shuffle the invisible deck? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but basically every guy and his dog does that presentation, and I wanted to go down a different route. So what you need to do is you need to download onto your phone a fake calls app. Now there's millions of them out there, but what these fake call apps allow you to do is have a call come into you at a predetermined time. And what I do is I set my fake call app to have a call come in from future Craig, and I set it for a minute's time. So the presentation goes like this. When I go into the routine, I put the deck of cards down on the table, and I put my phone down on the table, and I set it so it's going to call me in a minute from future Craig. And I say to the audience, hey, if I told you I could take this deck of cards, turn one card over, and it'd be the card that you're merely thinking of, that would be impossible, right? But it wouldn't be impossible if you believe in time travel. You see, if I could somehow communicate with me in the future could tell me the name of the card that you're thinking of, and I could just turn that card over, and there's no way I would get it wrong. And it's a very interesting premise for people, and they kind of go, yeah, well, that kind of makes sense. And you say, well, that's what I'm going to do. I want you to think of a card. And you get them to think of a card, and you time that whole monologue so that just after the thought of the card, the phone's ringing, and they can see it comes up as future Craig, and you answer it, and you have a conversation with yourself. You go, oh, hi, Craig, how you doing? I am really well. Yes, I'm here with the person, blah, blah, blah. And you have this back and forth conversation. It's a very amusing situation for the audience to be involved with. And then you say, are you sure that's the card? Are you positive? I don't want to get it wrong. No, that is definitely the card. Okay, fantastic. Blah, blah. So you act like you're having a conversation with your future self about what the card is, and then you say, hang on 1 minute, I just need to turn one card over in this pack. And then all you do is you just either turn round or you go under the table and you just pretend to turn a card over. In reality, you're doing nothing because you're using an invisible deck. Then you put the deck down and you say, right, okay, I'm done now. You can name any card you want to, it'll be the one turned over. And I know this because it's predetermined, because I know what card you're going to turn over, because what card you're going to think of, because I've already been told by my future self what the card is. So then they say a card, and you do the normal invisible deck, and you show that that's the one that's turned over, and they freak out. They really do. It's such a very interesting plot. But then you save into your contacts on your phone, you save past Craig as a contact, and you say, oh, that's wonderful, but there's one more thing I need to do. I just need to call myself in the past. And then what you do is you call yourself in the past, and I just have it go through to a dead line, but obviously the audience doesn't know that. and I have the other side of the conversation that the audience saw me have a couple of minutes ago. So now I'm being future Craig telling past Craig what the actual card is. And it kind of brings everything full circle. And then but I do it very offhand. I just go, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I just need to make a phone call. 1 second. Hey, is that past Craig? Blah, blah, blah. And I do this whole thing and I just put the phone away and I go, anyway, would you like to do something else? And if you're doing time travel, I love that time travel presentation. I really do. But it allows you to do other stuff. Like on a 5x5 recently, I shared my presentation for Timeless. On a Magic Live a little while ago, I shared my presentation for the Ambitious card that again uses time travel. So you can kind of put a whole sequence of routines together that involve going backwards and forwards in time, and it makes it really engaging. So I suppose the point of this video is look at the routines that you do, and if you're doing presentations and it's the same presentation that everybody does, how can you change that presentation to fit yourself and fit your character? How can you make that trick unique to you and you alone? So there you have it, guys. That's another 5x5. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you liked about the show down below. I'd really appreciate your feedback. And as always, please like the video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Tell all your friends about 5x5 and about the channel in general. And I'll be back tomorrow with a Talk Magic, and then on Wednesday with a review show with my little buddy Ryland. I'll see you then. Thanks very much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.